Now, my grades, or academic grades in St. Mary's in Form 2, were not, should we say, representative of a son of Mwai Kibaki. The Form 1 grades were quite terrible, and the Form 2 grades were actually abysmal. So I went to take my father. We had this thing where we got our school reports, and each one of us would go into his sitting room because he had his sitting room, and we would sit with him and give the reports. Judy gave her report. Judy, by the way, at that time she was in Form 3. And I think she was almost a straight A student. Maybe she got 1 or 2 Bs, but the rest were As. Then we had David. David in school, from primary school to high school, he was an academic genius. I think in academics he took after his father. Tony, that time you were a small boy, so you are not involved in this. But my mother made it a point that I be the last one to give my report. Mzee looked at my report, and I remember him going back up to the top of the report where your name is, because I think he was wondering, this must be a mistake. This cannot be my son. Then he asked my mother, these grades, which I'll not repeat here, please, I need to keep some dignity. He said, this is out of what? Is it out of 50 or is it out of what? My mother said, this is percent. So Mzee gave me one of those looks, which I'm sure, Your Excellency, you've come across those looks when he's very angry, because he doesn't shout, but he gives you one of those piercing looks. And he said, you know, Jimmy, let me tell you, let's do this. Forget about this school business. Let me take you to Naromoro, our farm there. Look after my cows, and I'll pay you a small wage. It won't be for free. And I think when he saw me actually contemplating that, he told my mother, you know, Lucy, Madare Mental Hospital is not far away from Othaya. Shall we take this boy then to get his head examined so that we can establish that it is not his brain that has a problem, he's just lazy. And I can tell you, he was quite annoyed, and he told me, you know, what we're going to do now, we're going to talk to the priests at St. Mary's, and you're going to repeat Form 2. And I was like, repeating Form 2, and I've been bullying those Form 1 kids. That's not an option. But to cut a long story short, I studied like crazy, and my third term grades were actually very, very good, quite respectable. But he told me, you know, if you don't maintain those grades, you are going to be forced to repeat, and you'll be forced to repeat without warning. So throughout the rest of my high school, I decided to apply myself, because you never knew when the report actually met his standards, or whether you'd be forced to repeat. You know, my father was a lecturer, my mother was a teacher trainer, so they took academics very seriously, and I can say that they taught us that we were privileged to go to some of the best schools in Kenya, and we should not actually squander those opportunities. Like I said, my life with my father was a game of cat and mouse. Like any teenager, I think the relationship between a father and a son can sometimes be misconstrued to be one of disrespect or not respecting enough. But I really respected my father. At one point, I remember he told me, you know, Jimmy, you keep going out and coming home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Why can't you come home at a respectable time? Respectable people are home by midnight. He told me it's only crooks and vagabonds who go out parading at all hours of the night. So he told me from now on, when you go out, be home by 1 a.m. the latest. And I told him, yes, Dad. The following weekend, I went out. I knew he was going to Othaya. So normally when he came to Othaya on Saturdays, he came back on Sundays. But that day he came from Othaya very early in the morning. And I was walking into the house. I saw through, there was a split in the curtains, and this was at 3 a.m. I saw Mzee sitting there. I was like, oh my goodness, what is going to happen now? And before I knew it, he had gone and he had opened the front door, and he told me, Jimmy, remember what I told you? Get in the house. Now when I looked at him there, I was like, you're standing in the doorway. How am I going to get in the house when he's standing in the doorway? So what am I going to do? I decided to call my mother because there was no way I was going anywhere near him before my mother was there. And when my mother came downstairs, Mzee told me, if you ever repeat that again, we are going to have some serious issues. And I can tell you from that time forward, I really followed his instructions. Mzee was many things to me. Obviously, first, he was my father. He was a disciplinarian. But above all, he was a role model. He was one of the finest people I have ever known. I want to take this opportunity in behalf of you all, and like His Grace said, to say a big thank you to His Excellency, President Mwai Kibaki. Thank you, Dad.
Thank you, Jimmy. We would like to have just a few and maybe brief steer from the family, from the extended family. Allow us to call John Kibaki, the nephew, I think he's Forester, to make, please, just a brief tribute on behalf of the extended family. Karibu.
Your Excellency, our President Uhuru Kenyatta, Your Excellency Mama Ngina Kenyatta, Your Excellency Deputy President William Ruto, Your Excellency Mama Rachel Ruto, members of Kibaki family, distinguished guests, members of the clergy, and all fellow mourners who are here. My name is John Kibaki Kinywa. I'm a nephew of the departed president. And as I stand here, I will just say a few words on behalf of the larger Kibaki family, for which I'm the chairman. So, members of the Kibaki family, including the departed president, were members of the family where I was chairman. On behalf of the larger Kibaki family, of which I'm chairman, I welcome you all to this celebration. His Excellency Mwai Kibaki has been a great inspiration to all of us in the family. His singular wish to see all members of the family grow their lives successfully was the reason he touched all of us, individually and collectively. Even as he undertook his work to serve Kenya and the world, he always found time for us whenever we required his advice. His warm demeanor, his generosity, and his sound advice at all times, coupled with many other things that make life comfortable for those that are close to you is what we remember him for. Myself, I remember him not so much as my uncle, but as my father, because when my late father died in the Mau Mau War, he took the responsibility to grow me up with my siblings, and up to this time, we feel that he was the force behind our success in life up to where we stand today. Fare thee well, uncle. Till we meet again. In God's heart, you are in a better place. May the Lord be praised. Mwathani umunengere kihuruko gitathiraga.
No theri wa hingo ciothe no mutheragie.
Arohuruka uhoro.
Ni gutuike guo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also for your brevity, thank you. Allow us to welcome the family, especially the extended family from the Kagai family, the family of the former First Lady, Lucy. Would like to welcome George Njoroge to speak on behalf of that family. Karibu.
Good afternoon, everybody. Your Excellency, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the President of Kenya, and the First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta, and the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, all the dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid because of the constraint of time, I've been requested to waive this opportunity and allow Ambassador Solomon Karanja to talk, to give his tribute, because he's been working with His Excellency President Mwai Kibaki for many years, and they have done very many things together. And because we don't want to lose time, as His Grace has requested, I'm extending this opportunity to Solomon Karanja, Ambassador.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, if I sound a little bit disconnected, it's because I wasn't expecting this honor, but I'm very pleased indeed to be able to say and to affirm what kind of man we have lost in the loss of his the president. The president, the late president. Incidentally, I may have already offended. I wasn't aware that the president was around, the president, our current president. Otherwise, I would have said the necessary apologies. And please excuse me, it's this talking out of turn on the sudden. Is not something that some of us have been brought up to do. So I do apologize. Anyway, I'll be brief. I first met Mr. Kibaki when he was going from Makerere for a postgraduate degree at the University of London, and I was just a freshman at Makerere. And much later, when he came back, we did get together, and we learned a lot of all the things that have been said here. I can underline and say that those are the truth. When he came back from London, he eventually came came, I graduated just shortly after he came back, and then worked for a company called Shell Company. And when he retired to go into, when he retired he came to Kenya, and we stayed together with him and another fellow who had come from Cambridge for a while. And then, of course, as young men will do, you get attracted to a lady, and you propose to do the right thing with her. And those who used to visit us with Mwai and Karemi, I think the other one was Karemi, the ladies who used to come and say jambo to us, we eventually married them. I married my wife, and she's still around, and she's still the only one after about 50 years of marriage. Mwai married, of course, the one you know from here who comes from Mama. We call her Mama, Mama Jimmy or Mama any of the other boys, and well, as I say, speaking off the cuff, all I can say is that this is a great man. He used to be, he's also kind, because I remember when we were students and he had a little Volkswagen when he was teaching at Makerere. And occasionally when we wanted to go to Kamulu's was a nightclub, a nightclub that was quite frequently attended by university students. And of course, university students had to be back into their room by midnight. Now, if you are lucky enough to be close to Mwai, when he had that little Volkswagen, and he was the resident tutor for Livingston Hall, you could get a ride, go to Kamulu's, come back, and go through his garage, and therefore escape the idea that you'll be booked and therefore not allowed to go out anymore. Now, one of the things that really astonished me, I'm doing this at random, so ladies and gentlemen, don't worry, was the fact that if we went out in his Volkswagen and came back slightly out of time, like 1 o'clock, he was able to go and deliver a beautiful and very well-attended lecture at 8 o'clock in the morning. Of course, at 8 o'clock in the morning, after that escape, or after that visitation to Kamulu's, I would still be fast asleep. So I asked him his secret, and he told me that the secret was not to go to bed when you have come back late from from wherever it was, but to do so after you have done your job. So he used to go to the university lecture rooms, deliver a beautiful lecture, and then when he comes back, apparently that's when he went to sleep. Now, this random remembrances can go on and on. So thank you very much for giving me a chance to say goodbye to him.
That was a very humane recollection of an elder. Thank you very much, Solomon. Our last, bado tuko katika hali ya kumkumbuka baba na rais wetu Mwai Kibaki. Naomba kwa heshima, wa mwisho ni aliyefanya kazi naye na alikuwa rafiki wa karibu zaidi, Ambassador Mudhaura, for a brief tribute. Kindly, Ambassador. on behalf of all those who work closely with him in government. Ambassador Othaya. Thank you. Karibu mzee.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Your Excellency, Margaret Kenyatta, the First Lady, Your Excellency, the Vice President of Kenya, Honorable Ruto, Your Excellency, the former Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Odinga, and his spouse, Her Excellency Ainda Raila Odinga. Your Excellency, not Your Excellency, Your Lordship, the Bishop of Nyeri.
May we kindly ask, tunauliza wananchi wote tuweze kutulia, bado tuko katika hali ya maombi, na tusikize kumbukumbu ya baba yetu. Tafadhali wananchi.
Your Lordship, the Bishop and the clergy, on behalf of the public service that served under the leadership of our departed father, the father of modern Kenya, His Excellency Mwai Kibaki, we really wish to convey our condolences, most deep condolences, to his family, Judy Kibaki, Jimmy Kibaki, and his family, and also Judy and her daughter, David, his wife and children, Tony, his wife and children, extended family, including the governor of Laikipia, His Excellency Ruto. We really cannot express enough the loss and the pain we feel about our departed father. All of us in the public service really learned a lot from His Excellency, the President. He was our teacher. He empowered all of us in the public service. He empowered the private sector. He empowered our military. He empowered our judicial service. Actually, there is nobody in the public service who cannot say he learned and got a lot of inspiration from our departed president. You remember when he came to power, our GDP was about 14 billion US dollars. When he retired from the leadership, it was around 60 billion US dollars. You know, 14 is from independence, or from the time the country was really started collecting statistics, 14. But only within 10 years, the jump was from 14 to 60. His successor, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, has pushed it, operating on the foundation established by the father of modern Kenya, to more than 100 billion US dollars. Today, nobody in the world can take our country lightly. Nobody. We are supposed to be the 5th largest economy in Africa. And we are marching on. We are marching on. How did President Mwai Kibaki go about it? He came up with what was called the Economic Recovery Program, Economic Recovery and Employment Creation Program or strategy during the first 5 years. What surprised everybody, including the World Bank and the IMF, under the leadership of the president, who emphasized empowerment. He empowered the ministers. He empowered the civil servants. He empowered the parastatals and everybody who under responsibility. What happened with that strategy? We surpassed all the targets that were set. The World Bank came, sent a delegation all the way from Washington. World Bank and IMF to find out what had happened in the country. Because everything was going up, and before that, the economy appeared to be pinned down by the structural adjustment regulations. It was like pinned down, and when it came, it's like he just cut the chains, and the economy started bubbling. That is really Mwai Kibaki. What did he do? He focused on the essential foundation of the economy, the infrastructure, the roads. After building the Thika road with a lot of doubting Thomases, just confidence came into the country. There is no project we will not implement under him. He renovated Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Suddenly, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport became the most modern airport in Africa. I remember when he was opening the phase 1 of the current modern Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The World Bank representative said, if you Kenyans can do a project like this so successfully on your own resources, because World Bank was a junior partner, they were contributing only $10 million. Kenyan government, the treasury was contributing $120 million. He said there is no project which we cannot implement. Later, what happened? Of course, it's completion of the Thika Superhighway. It was the completion of the, and I've heard a lot of people talking, nobody has mentioned it, the Isiolo-Moyale Highway. Isiolo-Moyale Highway is about 520 kilometers. It was built, I think, within, I can remember, Your Excellency the President, because we were funding it, I think 3 years, we realized that road. The purpose was to open up northern Kenya to join Kenya with Ethiopia. Because our president, Mwai Kibaki, was an economist. He was to open up space for economic activities for this country. He even pushed a lot about accession of Rwanda into the East African community. He pushed very hard the accession of Burundi into the East African community. And now our current president has pushed very hard the accession of Congo into the community. I saw an article which was being circulated that now the East African Federation is going to be one of the most powerful nations in the world after. No, we have to be ambitious, Your Excellency. We have to be ambitious. But that ambition wasn't developed by the president. He pushed us to design the LAPSET project to open up northern Kenya with a port linking us with South Sudan and linking us with Ethiopia. He used to say, the population is getting squeezed here in the southern part of the country, which is developed. We need to open up the north so that the population can go. And what is really, really very good is that our current president has never rested to make sure those dreams are achieved. So, what can we say? I said he focused on fundamentals, the roads infrastructure. He focused on power infrastructure. What he did, said, let's connect. You know, we had talked about rural electrification for a long time. He said, let us connect all public institutions with the power, all marketplaces, even churches. Let's connect them with the power. Then wananchi will be able to tap power from those points. Before, there used to be 40,000 connections a year. By the time we left, we are doing more than 200,000 connections a year. That's the power. And then, of course, in generation, when we get power, invested a lot on geothermal, which the current government has continued to expand. Geothermal power generation. The other point, which was really a game changer.
Kindly.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, Bishop.
Ambassador.
Your Lordship, I'm concluding. Let me finish just this.
Kindly.
I'm become a bit political. I'm not a politician. What you did, the next point was actually the communication sector. The revolution brought about with the optic cable that came from Fujairah to Mombasa revolutionized communication sector in this country, and Kenya now is one of the top countries in the world in terms of telecommunications. So these were the foundations. The other one, and I cannot really go without mentioning this, is human capital development. People talk about primary education, but that was step one. Step two was to expand secondary education, which he did by opening up day schools, day secondary schools, and that multiplied, I think, by multiples of 3 or 4 times. The next thing was university education.
Kindly.
From six public universities to 22 public universities. And finally introduced TVET education in the country to empower the youth so that they are productive. TVET all the way from high school to university. Surely, those what I can say, and also thank His Excellency the President because he's carrying that flag. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Allow us to listen to one stanza from the choir, please, before we go to the other tributes. Thank you very much. I think it's good that we applaud that message of St. Paul. I invite you to pige makofi, tumshukuru Mungu kwa maisha ya baba yetu. At this juncture, tungetaka kusema ya kwamba familia ya baba yetu Rais Mwai Kibaki iliomba wawe na fursa baadaye ya kubarikiwa karibu na mwili wa baba yao, na ndipo tutaenda kumalizia hii ibada, na baadaye tutaweza kuwa na maombi rasmi kabla ya kwenda kumlaza pahali ametayarishiwa kwa njia ambayo ni ya kushangaza ya unyenyekevu. Naomba sote tuweze kusoma somo kubwa kutoka kwa huyu baba yetu, na ndio maana kwa heshima yake naomba tutamuonyesha heshima hata mpaka tutakapomlaza. Wale wataweza kuwepo na wale wasio kuwepo, tukifuatilia tuweze kwa nchi yetu kumpa heshima tosha. At this junction now, allow me to invite for special tributes, brief tributes from two other speakers, whom we kindly ask to give their kind tribute with great love for this great man. Allow me to invite now at this moment first our former Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, to kindly come and deliver to us his memory and his wishes for this fallen hero. Karibu Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga. Karibu sana.
Your Excellency, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, First Lady Mama Margaret Kenyatta, Deputy President Archbishop Anthony Muheria, and all the clergy, the family of our departed Mzee Emilio Mwai Kibaki, waombolezaji wote ambao wamefika hapa. God is good and all the times. Asanteni sana. We have come, as I said yesterday, to take final farewell to a great Kenyan patriot. Now, I want to say a few things today about Mwai Kibaki. I want to say that the life and history of Mwai Kibaki is very much contemporaneous with the history of independent Kenya. Because as you said, Kibaki resigned from teaching to come and join the liberation movement. He was the chief executive officer of the most vibrant national movement for liberation, KANU. And in the elections of 1963, KANU won the elections, beating the then opposition KADU. Then, after that, Kenya became first independent, eventually a republic. So he was assistant minister, vice president, and a president, leader of opposition. But development in Kenya after independence are very much akin to what took place in the rest of the African continent. The constitution that brought independence was a fairly liberal constitution with a devolved system of government called Majimbo. And through a series of amendments, Majimbo was disbanded. Then also several amendments were introduced to the constitution, which basically removed power from the periphery to the center. We ended up with a very authoritarian, or what we call imperial presidency. To cap it all, in 1982, they brought Section 2A, which introduced a single-party system. They was introduced by the then Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, our late friend Charles Jonjo. Mwai Kibaki is the one who seconded it. I'm saying this because it's good for us to say it. We have had a long discussion with him. He did not know the implications. He later on himself became a victim of it all. Because in 1988, they brought Mlolongo system of election. They called them that open democracy. Then, after that, they did a reshuffle and was removed from being vice president, made minister of health. He did not feel humiliated he stayed there as a gentleman. Some of us were fighting for repeal of Section 2A and reintroduction of multi-party politics. But because he was inside that system, he said that it is not possible to introduce a multi-party system. But those of us who were calling for it were like somebody cutting a mugumo tree, the razor blade. Fortunately, with the fall of Berlin Wall, the wind of change that was blowing in Eastern Europe began to also blow in Africa. And through it, Section 2A went. And now we are allowed to form a political party. And Kibaki said that in his deep mind, he has always cherished multi-party system. And immediately resigned from KANU to form DP. So he joined us. We were already then in Ford. And he joined DP. Then Ford also eventually split into Ford Kenya and Ford Asili. So we now have Ford Kenya, Ford Asili, DP. We try to bring these people together. Ken Matiba, Jaramogi, and Kibaki. Eventually with Kibaki's people, we're negotiating. Uncle George Mohoho is here. And the late John Keane, Gegi Mugai, we tried to negotiate. It was not possible. And we said that if you guys don't agree to hang together, we shall be hanged separately. So we went to the elections, and truly they were hanged separately. One whole post there for Matiba, one for Kibaki, one for Jaramogi. So, but we came together now in the opposition. First Matiba was the leader, then Jaramogi. Then both of them eventually went. In 1997, we now try to come together again. There was Kibaki, Amalwa Kijana, Charity Ngilu, and yours truly. To try to come together. The late Mr. Leakey and Paul Mwite tried to mediate to bring us together. It did not work. And then again, we were hung separately. One for Kibaki, Raila, Amalwa, and Charity. So we stayed together like that. Come 2002, we are coming together again. We were separate. And then we came together to try to talk. And I was emphasizing that this time around, please, let us agree to have one candidate. And the negotiation took too long. The crowd was already in Uhuru Park. It was packed. They are saying, oh, let us go and tell the crowd that, oh, we will come back in 2 weeks' time. Now we have united. Come back in 2 weeks' time and tell them who is our candidate. I realized that we saw it in 92, we saw it again in 97, it's not going to work again. So this time around, I decided to take the debate to the Wananchi. And then I asked them, because I was the last person to speak, I asked them, si mzee Kibaki tosha? And the crowd roared back, Kibaki tosha, na wakaanza kuimba, yote yawezekana bila Mwai. That is the NAC revolution. The rest is no details. But I was saying this because I saw where we were, and we had a long discussion with Mwai Kibaki. In my view, Mwai Kibaki had the knowledge, the experience that we needed in that period of transition. I got actually hit so hard. By the time I arrived home, my wife had received so many phone calls saying how I had messed up. But I said, there's no going back. We'll move forward together with Mwai, Kibaki. So I'm here with my wife, Aida, there, and my elder brother, Dr. Uburu. They've come here as the family of Jaramogi. Now, we sat down and signed an MOU. That is what we are going to do after we formed the government. This famous or infamous MOU. And when we were negotiating, everybody was very fresh. Kibaki is the one who suggested we need only 3 months. We will have passed that new constitution. Unfortunately, when we left, we started the campaign. And we went for campaign in Kitui. We roamed around and we slept in the residence of Mr. Musila, former PC. When we left, we went for rallies in Kitui down, came back to Kitui town. We were rushing back now to Nairobi. My car was leading. But then they told me Kibaki was in a rush for another appointment in Nairobi. So I let them pass. So we were following. Then we come toward the junction there, Machakos Junction, and the accident. So from there, we put them in a car, Musila's car, and we were following, coming to Nairobi. We were found in Nairobi Hospital. We arrived at Nairobi Hospital, and the crowd is there. He's taken inside and for treatment, emergency. The crowd was so anxious, what's happening? So I came out and I told them, look, our captain is injured, but the march will continue and we shall win this march. And after that, we evacuated Kibaki to London for treatment. And he came back. He was a very strong man. Mwai Kibaki, apart from being brilliant, brainy, has also got a very strong physical constitution. Because he has gone through several challenges that I know. Then, after that, when he came back, followed another one, which was now again admitted in Nairobi Hospital. So then now, we are victorious, we won the elections, and what happened is that a group that was around Kibaki, the reason why I've always said this is not Kibaki, there was a clique that was around him, which took charge. And they're the ones who were responsible for what happened, for relegation on the MOU that we had signed. But he said, some of our people making noise, oh, this is betrayal and so on. I said, no, this is not Kibaki. Let us stay in the government. Then came the issue of the Katiba. There are those who did not want the Katiba that had been drafted. Then you know how it happened, bananas and oranges. And when that happened, then we were thrown out of government. We met again now in the elections. But when we met, then they were in crisis. We negotiated with Mwai Kibaki and eventually agreed that Kenya is bigger than all of us. So we must unite together in the interest of Kenya. We formed a grand coalition government. Kibaki president, yours truly the Prime Minister. Mudavura should have told you how we ran the government together. Because Francis, if there's somebody who was really responsible for the success of our government, is this gentleman, this old man called Francis Mudavura. He knows, he did not tell you the role that yours truly played in infrastructure development. In terms of roads, I'm the one who took the pain of demolishing structures so that we could construct those roads. And I was censored in the cabinet, but Kibaki defended me in the cabinet. I said, where we are demolishing structures are structures which are built on road reserves. And those people have already been compensated. So Kibaki has said, kama watu najenga kwa barabara, ibomolewe. Ibomolewe. Yes, what do you want us to do? And that is what happened. We sat together and we created what is called the National Economic and Social Council, NESC, as a think tank of the government. And that NESC is what came up with most of these projects. There's LAPSET, SGR, the Konza, ICT City, special economic zones, all these came about as a result of the discussions in the think tank. What I want to say is that Mwai Kibaki is somebody with a clear foresight and is ready to negotiate and also to take in new ideas. And through that, he managed to open the government and get new progressive ideas about development. So here, we've come today to say goodbye to Mwai Kibaki. He was transformative. He came up with progressive ideas and he was able to bring all of us together and create a team that was ready to work for Kenya and say that Kenya first, everybody else is second. And therefore, we are paying a tribute to a great Kenyan leader. Fare thee well, Mwai Kibaki. In your journey, convey our greetings to Hayati Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, to Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, to Thomas Joseph Mboya. Say farewell also to Nyayo when you meet him. Rest in peace.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. We thank you very much. At this juncture, allow me also now to invite the Deputy President, the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Samoei Ruto, to also convey his remarks. Wananchi tunawaomba tuweze kutulia kwa heshima ya baba yetu. Your Excellency, the Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Bishop. Mheshimiwa Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Rais wa Jamhuri yetu ya Kenya na Amiri Jeshi Mkuu, Mama Margaret Kenyatta, mama wetu wa taifa, familia ya rais wetu wa tatu
Judy na familia yako, Jimmy na familia yako, David na familia yako, Anthony na familia yako, pamoja na extended family ya mzee wetu, baba wa taifa wa tatu, mzee Mwai Kibaki. Your graces and your lordships, bishops, ndugu viongozi wote wenzangu walio hapa, arata Mwai wa Kibaki, Moriega. Moriega re